Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchups, that event that we have right now, and the Valiant's first win!
Yeah, no, I was there for it, and I was just like, oh, you must be losing your shit right now.
So this aired early enough that I was watching it at work, and work is chill with that as long as I still, actually do work. So I've got it in the corner of one monitor and my actual work in the other, and just doing my best to kind of keep up on things. And that also meant that because of the timing, I was watching it on my commute home as well, and I take public transportation. I take the train. Well, when you get to Hollywood and Vine, you lose reception. Which was halfway through the second point on Busan. So I spent the next 10, 15 minutes sitting in the LA Metro, trying not to vibrate out of my skin and not listening very much to the podcast that I had pulled up, because I'm just like, I gotta know. I'm not gonna know till we get there, but I gotta know. Cue me running up the stairs at my stop and then pulling open the website to see what the results were. And collapsing on the sidewalk. And I'm pretty sure a motorist thought I was just losing my goddamn mind, but I was definitely, leaned against a support and just breathing for a minute, because it happened! And then texting one of my other friends who was there saying, How was it? What was it like? I didn't get to watch the last map. What was it like? Planes, evidently. It was like planes.
Yes,
but
Thor is attempting to enter my building.
We were just texting back and forth, all in caps, yelling. Evidently, she accidentally photobombed some of the players' families' pictures because she thought they were fan pictures. It was just a great night, and I feel like that entire, well, maybe not, yeah, that evening was just a lot of, these are people that I was not expecting to perform to this level, performing to this level.
Oh, there was
with
a lot
the
of
exception of the charge and the shock. That went as expected.
Yeah, there was a good amount of that. I was actually sat next to a family that was visiting the Blizzard Arena for the first time, and they were all in Atlanta jerseys.
Oh no!
Including the they looked like maybe 5 and 7 year olds.
Oh, babies.
Yeah.
You know what? The 5 and 7 year olds will get over it. The Valiant have finally excised Owen from their roster. 0-6, 0-7, 0-8. 1-8.
They dropped 0 and picked up 1.
You know what? Better than nothing. I will take that, and I will sprint with it. Especially given how the Battle of Los Angeles went on Sunday. That went so much better than I thought it would.
Yeah, for sure. We should do introductions.
We should. I'm just so excited. I'm Katie. I'm the Valiant fan.
I'm CJ. I'm the Dallas/Vancouver fan.
So, fairly good weekend all around.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
I have no complaints because both of the teams I like just clobbered their opponents.
Yeah, I've been sleeping on Dallas this season.
A lot of people have. A lot of people have.
Whereas I think Guangzhou is just asleep.
Meanwhile, we got that one copy pasta about from Wolf of Villainy on Reddit, who after Vancouver picked up Runaway in its entirety, or was about to, when the rumors started coming out, was Runaway isn't Overwatch League level as fanboy triggering as that might be. They're just not good enough. They're not gonna compete. If I was Flowervin and Runner, I would try and sell off Bumper, Stitch, and Haxall, and that money could keep the team solvent for another year or two. And I'm just
you're an idiot.
Yeah, I have not heard much of anything about him since. I did a podcast with him once, and he was kind of a dick.
I think one of the best things that I've seen going around, and that since, I want to say yesterday, was that Mayhem Academy should just switch places with Mayhem.
Well, yeah.
Which is kind of a rough take, but I mean, I don't know if they're
Mayhem
wrong.
Academy
handed it to Philadelphia Fusion Academy,
literally
who was undefeated.
Their first loss in their existence.
Yeah.
At least in contenders. They did lose in, I think it was beat Invitational or something, but
they were saying that their record was 30-0 before going up against Mayhem Academy, and then Mayhem Academy just kind of flipped their table.
Mm-hmm. And now their watch has ended.
Yep. So there's that. That's the hot take that I've been seeing, and I'm amused by it, but I'm not sure that Mayhem Academy would have the same level of success in the league itself.
Oh, I don't know that they would either, but it's
the
an
full
idea.
switch isn't going to happen.
No, God, no.
No, especially not after Florida just made all those shakeups, but...
Yeah, they're going to let this ride out for at least the rest of the stage before they make any further moves.
They're going to have to.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Speaking of the stage and everything that's been going on in it, results from last week.
Results!
First up, Paris Eternal versus Florida Mayhem. I forgot to calculate our batting averages.
I'm sure that yours is about the same, and mine has tanked. Because I wasn't kidding about sleeping on the Dallas.
Yeah, no, mine has gone up because of the Dallas and Gladiator picks. Anyway, Paris Eternal versus Florida Mayhem. Paris wins 3-1. We both picked Paris. New York XL versus Washington Justice 4-0. Guess who we picked?
Yeah, look how surprised we are at this.
Vancouver Titans versus Seoul Dynasty. We both picked up Vancouver on this, and they deliver with the 3-1 win. Up next was Toronto Defiant versus Philadelphia Fusion. Toronto's struggles continue. I don't know why you picked Toronto as well. You picked Fusion on that.
I did.
Anyway, so you picked Fusion. I picked Toronto. Up next was Valiant versus Reign, which upon reviewing... How
did we not talk about this?
I don't know.
It's a Valiant match. How did I miss this?
Yeah, and...
Because I was looking at the Battle for LA and just kind of screaming into the void, that's why.
Kind of.
What are we going to do? We're going to get up before 8 a.m. on a Sunday? You bet your ass we are.
Yeah, for the things we do for Overwatch.
Hey, I was seated front row center. I regret
nothing. I saw you there several times.
And for those of you who are like, wait, who are you? I was the one in the hat that said wings out, sitting next to Briggsy and Alyssa.
Yep.
So, yup.
So yeah, this is one of the games I kind of wanted to talk a little about.
Let's do it.
Bit about.
We got my emotional reaction and my quiet meltdown in the subway.
Yeah. So this was the first game in like the entirety of this season to this point where Valiant kind of looked like they did at the end of last season. Faceplay was still a little bit rocky, a little bit bumper-esque in some places.
And I feel like that's the problem, is that Valiant doesn't have the rest of it together enough to support him when he tries to go full bumper.
They did here.
Yeah.
They did here. So the team played around him better and did a better job of like exploiting the chaos he created way more. Their ult usage was smarter. They didn't like waste nearly as many the way that they had throughout a lot of stage 1, especially their support ultimate usage was a lot cleaner.
Well, Custa's back in the game.
Yes.
And I don't want to throw Kuki under the bus because he doesn't deserve that. But they picked up Custa for a reason.
Well, and I don't think it's BMing Kuki to say that he's not a main support player. He's a main tank player. Like, not having the timings or the, game sense for that role is kind of to be expected, even if you practice it a bunch, because it's just not your thing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to develop that at that level.
Yeah.
You're asking someone who could probably play Lucio to, like, a Grandmaster's level just because he's that fucking good at the game, to play it on the highest level possible. And that's a big ask.
Yeah, especially when you have a Lucio main that you've put on the bench.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, like I said, Custa's not a one-stop shop to fix everyone's problems, but when it comes to support ult usage, he knows what he's doing.
It's true. ATL had some maps where they looked strong and kind of just tripped at the finish, and others they looked a little more lost, but ultimately they kind of came up short in a few key places. KSF started off really strong. He had a really good game, especially like on that first map on Zarya. And Baby Bay was struggling to keep up in terms of damage done and ults farmed. And the other thing is, Baby Bay kind of whiffed a grab or two.
Yeah,
there was one on
jokes about keeping the bricks together.
There was one on Junkertown that just got eaten straight up. And then the other one where he just yeeted it into a wall.
Yeah. That I actually hung around to watch Point. I kept the stream on to watch it, and that was one of their like top 5 moments of the match. Like
that was one of those moments where that happened. I'm like, oh, they just lose now.
Because how do you come back from that? Like, just emotionally.
Well, it's hard, especially when you're in map 5, and I think they were already down one at that point.
Yes, I think that was the second. Well, they took the second point. They took the second point. They did not take the third.
I'll say that Baby Bay had a much better Blizzard world. But the thing is, KSF's grabs also got more done than they might have otherwise due to some questionable trance timings from Dogman. Sometimes he was kind of using it as an engage tool when the enemy is close to grab, which is not a great decision, and we've kind of talked about why before.
You want to save it for the grab because you know that shit's coming.
It's one of the only things that'll keep you alive through it. Mm-hmm. And if you know the grab is far away and you're confident that you can farm it up, you can use it as an engage tool, but you need to be doing that like right after that grab gets used or as a response to the enemy using their transcendence. Like, it's...
I also wonder if knowing that you have...
Christ.
We're in a flight path.
I know, that's just way louder than usual.
I also wonder if knowing that you have a sound barrier in the bag, that...
Possibly, but sound barrier is significantly worse at keeping people alive through a grav when you have a significant amount of focus fire coming in.
This is true.
But yeah.
Consistent healing versus increased temporary armor.
Yeah, especially the shields that decay.
Yeah.
So sometimes he uses it as an engage tool. Sometimes he just kind of throws it out during a fight. There was one on Lijiang Night Market specifically that made me just go, oh, no, you just lose next fight now.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason, he often just doesn't get value for that ult. And it's been a weakness for Atlanta pretty consistently. And if you look at his stats, like they kind of called him out during the pre-show, like when they showed his stat card, that his just trance timing was not good and he didn't get much healing as a result of it.
And you're going up against Izayaki, who is, I'd say one of the better Zenyatas in the league.
Yeah, no, I think so. I'd put him like top 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah. Because I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, he's one of the better ones in the league because he's on the Valiant. Like, I know that my team bias shows a lot. But I think Valiant's support line is pretty dang solid.
I think so, and I think as they get their shit together a little more, like I think they'll continue to be stronger still. But yeah, it's been a weakness for Atlanta. I will say, like, Pokpo looked great at times, but at other times he was diving like way far ahead of his team, and Valiant would just collapse and delete him. There were 3 or 4 times where he just went in super far on the Winston and immediately got destroyed, and his team just lost the fight as a result of that.
Yeah. Because you lose your shield tank, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, it was Winston, which isn't really a shield tank, but the thing is, he's the one who dictates your engagement, a big source of damage and disruption, and it's one less tanky body that you have in the fight.
Yeah.
So the game kind of came down to these missteps, and they were consistent enough that Valiant got the win, which isn't to say that Valiant didn't earn it, but I feel like Atlanta lost it a little more than Valiant beat it out of them.
I mean, I'd say both, because Valiant has been picking up their game.
Oh yeah, trust me, I am not saying that they did not earn that win. I'm just saying that if Atlanta played tighter and didn't make a lot of those mistakes, that result, it could have gone the other way. Like, it was a very close game. And those mistakes, I think, 1, Atlanta making those mistakes cost them their chances, but 2, the Valiant were able to exploit them, which is not something that they might have been able to do the way they were playing last stage. Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of a going pattern for the Reign this stage.
Yeah.
Not necessarily this season, but this stage.
This stage, they've definitely have a lot more rocky performances. Pokpo and Fried, which is apparently how you pronounce FRD according to Thibbledork. But
yeah, because what his name used to be, but they're pronouncing it
Fried Wiener.
But they're pronouncing this was someone that showed up with a FRD sign that had hot dogs drawn on it, and I love them.
Yeah.
But they are pronouncing it FRD, and I'm wondering if he had to rebrand. Or if that's just in much the same way that they couldn't pronounce Chips' name.
It could be. But yeah, he had shortened it to FRD like before he came into Overwatch League. So
I wonder if that isn't also some league dictated rebranding.
It's kind of like how Rob420 changed his name to RobDab.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you remove the drug references. Yay!
Well, a dab is still like not just the dance, like hitting a dab. Like,
yeah. But it's like more people think of the dance move than
fair
whereas
enough.
420 is straight up nice.
Yeah.
So
the Atlantis had a lot of issues. I think Baby Bay is still kind of finding his place in the team. Maybe same for Fried. I think Masa's awesome, but Kodak and Dogman haven't quite been performing in the way that the team needs them to.
And when your support line isn't performing the way you need them to, that's what kneecapped Florida last season.
And Shanghai.
And Shanghai.
Other things.
But Shanghai was kind of the perfect storm of
everything. It's not all bad for Atlanta. Dogman can pump out a lot of damage, and if his bad habits can be corrected, he'll be, his value to the team will increase significantly. Pokpo looked really strong on the Rhine and hit a bunch of really big shatters. Erster is awesome on the Brig. He's really good at doing that stuff that I was talking about Haxal doing, about being in position. What the fuck are these goddamn... There's so many!
Just ignore them and they'll go away. They will, though.
Eventually, not fucking soon enough.
Oh,
I kind of want to see the waveform on that. Yeah, that's some peeking.
That's you yelling.
Yeah. What No, you haven't heard me yell.
Anyway.
That's like a 6 on my volume dial.
The mic is used to your 3.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Erster's good at being in position to land those, key shield bashes to counter abilities and stun incoming people. He's really good at just being exactly where he needs to be. Baby Bay looks stronger on Zarya than his last outing, especially when he kind of got to warm up through the course of the series. Valiant fans should be happy, though.
We are.
This is the best performance the team has had on a team and individual level, and this and the strong showing in the Battle of LA, Valiant is looking up. They look a lot better for what they've done.
Yeah, I think we've pulled it together better this stage, and I mean, facing the shock first didn't do us any favors. We all kind of knew how that was going to go. And we knew that Gladiators would be difficult. I mean, talking with Valiant fans as we were sitting there, we all kind of went, look, we all know our chances of winning are really not great, but we're all hoping that the 4-0 doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't. I'm impressed with our performance, especially given how our stage has been and how the Gladiators season has been.
Yeah, they've picked it up real strong recently.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, next game, Boston versus Hangzhou. We both picked Boston, and Boston's reverse sweep voodoo just didn't work out for them this time because Hangzhou gets the 3-2 win.
It was nice to see victory art from the Hangzhou Instagram. It's been a while.
It has, and
I love their artwork. It's so sweet. This one was the Boston Marathon. It was so sweet.
They looked a lot better. They looked less nervous. They looked like they were playing the way that they did in those first 2 games that they had in stage 1. They looked confident. They looked like they were having fun. And while I was there watching it, they were in good spirits even on the maps that they lost.
Good.
Also, IDK is loud.
I mean, yeah, you sit in the front row, you hear everything.
Well, specifically, this is IDK and Fusions. Fusions is loud, and he's talking. If you're ever in the arena, watch Fusion's little player cam, because his mouth is going the entire game. He is calling strategies every second that is humanly possible for him to be doing that. It's insane how vocal he is. And then whenever they're in a fight, the chatter gets so loud from Boston especially.
He's so good, and I can't believe our management slept on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Damn good game.
Yeah, it was a very good game. I kind of had to leave in the middle of it, unfortunately, but what I saw and watched on the way home, very, very good. Up next, Guangzhou Charge versus Shock. We both picked Shock, and not quite so shockingly, San Francisco wins with the 4-0.
Again.
Guangzhou's still looking very rough. Like, they're not on the same page.
Like, whoever made Guangzhou's schedule this stage just hated them.
Yeah.
Just hated them.
Yeah.
Which is rough if you're a Guangzhou fan.
Oh, yeah. It's a rough time to be them, but they're also just not playing like themselves, like they did in stage 1.
Do you think it might be the meta shift having something to do with that?
I don't think so, because like we talked about last time, they were able to play those multi-DPS compositions well, and they were able to win games with them. They just...
haven't gotten it together.
They're just not on the same page. They're not... It doesn't seem like they're communicating effectively. They're not like looking out for each other or focusing stuff down the way that they need to.
Makes me wonder if there's something going on behind the scenes there.
Maybe, but we don't know, and I haven't heard anything.
Shrug.
Up next, Chengdu Hunters versus Shanghai Dragons. We both picked Chengdu, and the Dragons with the upset win with the 3-1.
Yeah, Friday, with the exception of the Charge versus the Shock, with the exception of the electric match, everyone that we weren't expecting won.
Yeah.
The Valiant, the Spark, the Dragons. And I think part of us looking at Dragons is everyone remembering last season and underestimating them.
There's definitely some bias,
but part of it is the Hunters are really good.
No, the Hunters are, although I feel like people do kind of overrate them because of, one, how fun they are, and two, I'm going to talk about this a little more when we get to Titans versus Outlaws, but the Chengdu's playstyle still ultimately limits them on certain map types. And they can be very good at what they're doing, but it's still not necessarily the ideal way to play it. And if people can prepare for it, your life becomes a little more difficult.
Yeah.
And also Chengdu, their performance has been a little rocky. Like, they looked really strong in one of their games last week, or the week before, and a lot shakier in another.
They're only just integrating Yang Xiaolong now, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then they're still missing, what's his name? Why did my brain stop? Jakiran. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Where they're still missing him. He's still in transit.
But the thing is, this is a composition that they've been practicing and has been their bread and butter for a long time. And it looked a little uneven, and I don't know if that's like a harbinger of things, of like just an overall uneasiness of just maybe being a little streaky. We'll see as they go throughout the stage. I don't...
Still a good game.
Oh yeah, no, it was a really good game. Up next, London Spitfire versus Philadelphia Fusion. We both picked London, me via coin toss.
The map that took 1,000 years. This whole match. I feel like they're evenly matched in terms of skill and also evenly matched in terms of scatteredness. There's not I don't have a good word for that right now, but they're both just messy enough that it becomes one of those football plays where one team fumbles and the other one gets it, and then the other team fumbles and the first one picks it back up, and the play that should take 30 seconds takes 3.5 minutes.
They either play very well or just Mr. Magoo their way through fights.
Both of them, and they were doing it to each other.
It was so weird. It's like that. It's like that thing. I don't even know where I was going with that, but it's. There's a reason why I'm consistently just kind of like... I don't have anything against the Fusion. Except the fact that they won't play Fraggy, the fucking cowards. However...
I mean, there's a number of players that seem to have disappeared.
Yeah.
Sleepy's another one.
Well, yeah. But both of these teams are so inconsistent in the current metagame. Yeah. And, like, ultimately... Fusion has always had these problems that we're seeing right now. They're just exacerbated because Carpe's not in a position where he can just deadlift his entire team.
This is true.
I want Fusion to continue to succeed, but I feel like both of these teams are gonna be very middle of the table for this.
Given the meta as it is, the weird meta shift that we may or may not
well, and
be
just
happening,
the difficulties they've both been having.
So this was a very long, slightly confusing match, but I think the biggest surprise was that it didn't go to a map 5.
Yeah, kind of. Like, if it hadn't been for that draw, it probably would have.
Oh, absolutely. Titans and Outlaws.
Yeah, Titans and Outlaws. Titans taking the 3-1 win in line with both of our predictions. This is another one of those maps I wanted to talk about because it's been the centerpiece of a lot of discussion this week, which is Titans lost to Outlaws on Busan. For those of you who have been living under a rock, Titans is kind of the consensus best team in Overwatch right now. With only
People still argue that it's NYXL just given the map record. We never saw them face each other down, so hell if we know. But I feel like there's more I don't want to say force of personality behind Titans, but I feel like they're making a bigger splash.
Oh, yeah. And
especially since we know NYXL can definitely be beaten, but Titans, we haven't seen that yet.
Well, I'm just saying they're the consensus best with Shock and New York XL being the second, and you could very well make a case for them. But I feel like right now the general opinion is that Titans are kind of the foremost team.
Yeah.
And Outlaws is kind of considered to be lower mid-tier.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad because I like those guys and I want them to succeed despite how often I kind of dump on them on here.
Well, you're a Dallas fan. You're allowed to get a little shirty about rivals.
I am, and I will when they play each other in the Dallas homestand week. But
that's next weekend. Not this coming, but next. That's going to be a thing.
I'm excited for it. But Houston took Busan pretty convincingly off of Titans by using some multi-DPS comps where they looked really good. And they've got a bunch of players like, Linkser, Arhan, Jake, Danteh, who this new meta kind of opens the possibility for them to play the heroes that they're famous for.
Yeah.
And when they were doing that, they looked very good with it. Titans kind of struggled to stay on top of all the different threats that were going on. Like, when they stuff Danteh, Linkser suddenly pops off, and when they focus Linkser, suddenly Arhan's putting pressure somewhere else. And the Titans were looking kind of unsure of who they needed to focus and where they needed to be throughout that. And it kind of... They looked a little bit lost trying to keep up with it.
Because that's been the thing with the Titans. If you can dictate where the fights are, you cut the knees off from them because they're aggressive and they like to dictate what goes where.
Yeah. And I think that that's a good chunk of this. And also just the fact that I think Houston's strength kind of lies in these compositions in terms of the roster that they have.
Which means Goats is a bitch.
Yeah, well, after that, on later matches, they went for Goats more often than not, but the Titans outclassed them in that mirror match. And there were a lot of people, going online, going like, why the fuck were you guys just not continuing to play DPS? What the hell? You were looking so good with it. And, Jake got upset and kind of made a bit of a straw man argument about, if playing DPS is all you need to do to win, then why isn't Chengdu the best team in the league? Flame had a little bit of a meltdown on a Vast stream. He was on Oversight with Thor and Monty earlier today and definitely made a better case for what he was trying to say, but it was still kind of under his skin, it sounded like.
You can't stand up and say that no one is allowed to criticize anything your team does ever. That's not how sports work.
Though I don't think that that's necessarily what was happening here. And I'll get to that in just a second. Because, a lot of people were kind of confused about why they would do that, considering the success on Busan and the strengths of their team, me included. Just because, I'm not saying they should auto-log DPS and win, or that, just playing DPS is the path to victory for them, and that if they don't, they're throwing or whatever. But it does kind of seem like in doing that, they're playing away from their strengths and into Vancouver's.
The question then becomes, because we've seen throughout last stage and also in this stage, how many DPS comps have we seen break trying to go against goats? Like, goats is one of those comps that's difficult to shatter with a different composition, which is why we're seeing so much of all goats all the time. So then the question becomes, the Outlaws had a lot of time to prepare for this particular match. They had a lot of footage from, like, not for every map, obviously, because Junkertown, Blizzard World, etc. weren't maps in last stage's rotation. But they had a lot of footage of the Titans. The question then becomes, in their preparation, did they decide that for these particular map sets, goats would be the way to go regardless, because playing DPS on these map sets against Titans level of goats would have just been throwing yourself against a brick wall?
And I think that the answer to that is yes. Whether it is correct or not, and I do think that they could have maybe tried to do some of the DPS compositions more, but I understand a lot of the decisions behind it. Some of it was kind of me, like, being... It's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about comes from Oversight, where they were talking about that game a fair bit, and I'm going to parrot a bunch of it because I kind of agree with it, and it was kind of where my head was at going into it.
Citing your sources.
Yeah.
Nice.
But essentially, on things like hybrid and payload, goats is almost always going to be stronger than a DPS comp, just by virtue of the sustain that goats has. You have a tremendous amount of sustain, you have a tremendous amount of ultimate synergy, and if you're trying to, like, push a payload on a DPS heavy comp, you're moving all over the place, and you'll... Basically, all they need to do to stop the payload for an indeterminate amount of time and completely, like, negate the win condition for you in terms of, like, the, not necessarily, like, the fight win condition that people talk about, but
the map win condition.
The map win condition is they just need to bum rush the cart and kill whoever's on it.
Yeah.
And then you have to, you know... Basically, the reason that DPS compositions work really well on control maps or assault maps is because you're fighting around a static, stationary objective. You can take all the angles that you conceivably want going into a fight because that shit ain't going anywhere. You basically have time to pick the angles that you want to take, engage along them, and try and pick things apart. With maps with a moving payload, you need to be able to move with the payload or move onto the payload. And if you don't have the sustain to be able to contest it directly, they'll get a lot of push. You might be able to pick them apart in the way that you do using a DPS composition on a control map or a 2CP map, but ultimately you're playing a composition that's not really ideal for the objective you need to fulfill.
You're chipping at that brick wall, and that brick wall is mobile.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. That's also why so many of our more egregious C9s are payload related.
Oh, yeah. The other thing to kind of keep in mind with this is I do think that basically going, a lot of people were like, at least, you know, use the Sombra against Vancouver. And this was something that I kind of disagree with. And everyone on Oversight also disagreed with. Just because, here's the thing. When you are playing Sombra Goats, how do you beat it?
Killing the Sombra.
No. Don't completely ignore it. Keep tabs on the Sombra. Bum rush everyone the fuck else. Because in that case, you don't have a diva. You don't have defense matrix to mitigate damage. You don't have that big beefy body to absorb damage. You don't have quite as much ability to... You don't have the micro rockets. You can't, like, dive and delete a support quite as easily. Sombra's still good at that, but can be pushed away a little more easily by a second support stepping in or something. And basically, the weakness of Sombra Goats is the fact that the rest of your team is significantly less durable because of it. Your victory condition is hacks and EMP. So the second you see that Sombra on the flank, you know that those other 5 guys are a lot weaker without the diva. Bum rush them. Kill them. And what is Vancouver really, really good at doing?
Bumper play.
Yes. Just whipping their dicks out and fucking charging. Like, that's
not an image I needed. Thank you. No.
My point is, Sombra doesn't work well against Titans because of their play style, basically.
Because they're horrifyingly aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever see me in the stadium when there's a Titans game, you will recognize me because I will make a sign that says Bumper does what Bumper wants.
Yes.
I say that enough, I might as well.
Yeah. And you might say, like, oh, but they did pretty well with the Sombra on Eichenwald. And they did. And that's very uncharacteristic, and I don't quite know why that was.
Sometimes you just kind of stare at that and go, huh, this is not a repeatable set of conditions.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it did better than normal. So what it comes down to for me is that I understand why the Outlaws tried to play more of the mirror match goats, but I think that they used it in some inappropriate places. Like, I think Paris was a really bad place to try and do the mirror match into Vancouver.
I honestly, from what I've seen of Paris, and I haven't had the opportunity to play the map because my computer doesn't like Overwatch that much anymore, but from what I've seen of Paris, it just looks like a hell map. Like,
you see why I hate it so much.
Oh my god, between that and Rialto, it's all stone and 90 degrees and death traps. Like, it's terrible.
At least with Rialto, you have multiple angles to go through chokes.
I will take every other payload map above Rialto, and that includes Junkertown.
You're insane.
You know how much I hate Junkertown.
I completely disagree with that. But, like, just...
Yeah, you're a tank. I'm a support main. I've had days on Junkertown where I can't get out the spawn door.
Oh, no, I know. I just really disagree with that assessment for a bunch of reasons. But ultimately, like, with Rialto, if you look at the chokes, look at the bridge, you've got 3 ways around that opening bridge. You've got a bunch of different ways to come at the end of point A, that bridge. When you've got the next choke going into B, you've got 3 ways around that. You could take the high ground far left and go down the stairs. You could go into the building and push through the upper floor. You could try and push through the choke directly. You could try and go through the building past the choke. There's a whole bunch of angles you can take. With Paris, there is 1.5 ways around the... There is 1.5 ways around that initial choke.
We're gonna need to start setting aside map time with CJ when we have breaks between league matches, aren't we?
Maybe. But I say 1.5 because you have that central choke, and there's like one way you can... Basically, you can walk through it, or you can go into the building immediately to the left and go out that way. And those are the only 2 ways through that first choke. If you get through it, then you can swing to the right or to the left or whatever. And there's that little sort of like gap over the like pastry shop or whatever on like the left side of attacker's spawn. But that's only really viable for a handful of heroes to get through that way, which is why I say like 1.5.
We're basically looking at Hanamura Point A, where you have the doors and you have the tiny little window that you can get up to if you can climb, fly, or teleport.
Honestly, the roof way is even harder than the window. Like,
Great.
It's less accessible. So
quit making maps after European cities. Stop it. They're painful. Eichenwald is the exception. I like Eichenwald.
I like Eichenwald.
Anyway.
And King's Row.
Yeah.
King's Row is like classic.
King's Row is supposedly one of the most balanced maps.
Yes.
Anyway, we need to continue on with this.
Yeah, anyway, I understand why they went in the direction that they did. I think that they overcommitted to the 3-3 a little bit, considering the strengths of their team. They performed well, considering they were going into kind of an unfavorable matchup.
Yeah.
But I do think that Paris, they kind of gave that map away by opting into that mirror matchup.
I just think facing the Titans, there are very few teams where I'd sit them down opposite the Titans and say, I think they can win.
Yeah, especially...
But I love Outlaws, but Outlaws is not one of those teams. That's why I was so pleased with the first map.
Yeah, and I do think that they've gotten an inordinate amount of shit for, like, opting into that mirror matchup, especially because...
Outlaws get an inordinate amount of shit for existing. People are just really, really stupid about this team. Like, for some reason, it's okay to hate the Outlaws and their fans for literally no reason. And I again, this is more of a fan culture thing, but it's never a thing that's made any sense to me. So you see the Outlaws getting an inordinate amount of flack for anything. A chunk of that is just that for some reason, people just don't like the Outlaws.
Well, I'm also going to say in this case, it's just because the majority of Overwatch fans don't know what the fuck they're talking about strategically.
Legit. This is why we have you. I don't.
Up next, anyway. Dallas Fuel versus Toronto Defiant. I picked Dallas, you picked Toronto, and Dallas wins 4-0.
Yeah, I think at this point I need to stop picking Canadian teams that aren't Vancouver.
Well, me too, because every time I pick Toronto, they fucking lose.
Toronto and Atlanta are red and black and are red and white teams, and now it's just like, guys, what are we doing?
The problem's
We're having some trouble.
But yeah, Dallas looked really strong, and I'll talk about it a little more against Paris. But Defiant issues just keep on keeping on.
They compound.
Yeah, the role swap between Ivy and I'm 37 doesn't quite seem to work out. Their communication doesn't seem to be quite on the same level as it was. They're definitely missing Stellar on that brig. It's just it's not clicking.
No.
Up next, Gladiators versus Guangzhou. We both picked Gladiators, and Guangzhou's own set of issues reared their ugly head again, and Gladiators was able to get the very convincing 4-0 win.
Yeah, and I mean, Gladiators have been very solid this...
Oh, yeah.
All this everything. This whole stage, this whole season.
Well, they definitely...
Well, they picked
not this
up.
Whole season.
They picked up halfway through stage 1.
Yeah.
But they're solid, and I can see them in the playoffs for this stage.
Up next, Dallas Fuel versus Paris Eternal. I picked Dallas, you picked Paris, and Dallas gets the 2-1 win.
I gotta stop picking Paris. I mean, I love them. I gotta stop picking them.
I mean, hey, we both got some love from Paris at the first game of the week.
This is true.
And honestly,
against Florida.
I will say, I do think they're looking a lot better with the new lineups that they're using.
Yes.
It'll take some time for them to work out all the kinks, but I do think it is an improvement.
So we're looking at maybe stage 3 for Paris.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility.
There's been so much up and down for all these teams this season. It's kind of wild.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of up and downs, Dallas was a team that had some pretty pronounced weaknesses last stage, despite being a good team. Like they had a positive win-loss. They didn't have a negative map differential. It was like perfect 0, but
they were in contention for finals, dependent on some very specific win conditions that didn't happen.
Yeah, if they hadn't lost to Boston, they would have insta-locked a place in finals.
And if Houston had won their final match, then they would have gone up against Dallas for that spot, which would have been crazy.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, OG had some stage nerves that made him inconsistent during stage 1. Zachary didn't always look comfortable on the brig, and there was kind of this over-reliance on RCK's Sombra and the EMP. Like, you saw throughout, like, towards the end of that stage, Dallas became very much a Sombra Goats team, and in those fights where they didn't have an EMP or where they were waiting for one, they just kind of
got wrecked.
They kind of got idled or settled into a neutral fight too long, for them to like not get smashed by the other team.
And getting wrecked messes up your Zarya.
Yeah. So these problems seem to look like they've been resolved.
Mm-hmm.
OG looks confident and has shown off some absolutely nutty mechanics on both main tanks. There was a play where he blocked one after the other. I think it was against Toronto where he blocked a self-destruct and then a shatter within like half a second of each other.
Yeah.
His game against Paris especially, his mechanics on like primal rage, like juggling, the only person who might be better is Gushue.
Wow.
Zachary looks a lot stronger on the Brig, and we've seen him on a bunch of other heroes, and he's looked good on them. The team is playing like intelligently and aggressively on a variety of different comps. Note's been a really great addition. He's got really good like tank synergy with fucking plane.
He's got great tank synergy with fucking planes.
Really great tank synergy with OG. And we've seen him do things other than Diva, which is not a thing that
Gasp.
Not a thing that we've really seen him do in the Overwatch League. He's played Zarya, he's played Roadhog, he's played Hanzo. He shot a Pharah out of the fucking air on Hanzo, and I think that Pharah was Shadowburn.
Yeah.
They haven't really been like tested against a really strong team yet, and we'll get that next week.
Yep.
But Dallas looks really capable of making a deep run and getting into playoffs this time. And with 2 big wins, that looks pretty likely.
And I feel like it's helpful to go up against teams that aren't quite up to that level. Like, they're still challenging. They're still... I mean, we're looking at a 2-1 against Paris. Like, obviously, Paris didn't just roll over and die at the first opportunity. There was fight there.
Oh, yeah.
But... when you go up against a challenge and you win, you learn, you build confidence, you move on to your next map, and hopefully you do better.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like Dallas's coaching staff is putting in a lot of work to consistently improve the team. Because, stage 4, they looked better than they did at any point in the rest of season 1. In stage 1, they looked better than they did in stage 4 of last season, and they look better now. We just got to see if that is...
if that keeps.
Yeah, if that's going to be a consistent pattern.
All right.
Up next, Atlanta Reign versus Washington Justice. We both picked Atlanta, and they deliver with the 3-1.
This was one of my favorite matches to watch. I mean, I was in the stadium for this. I really enjoyed watching this match. Partially because Justice was really working hard for it. At one point, everyone on both sides was chanting Corey's name. Like, he was wild.
No, he's really good, and he's been a really good addition for Justice. And I'm glad that they're slowly kind of opening themselves up to DPS comps.
Yes.
Because it's definitely more to their strength. And...
there's promise in this team. They've got talented players. They've got good people. They just... haven't been able to capitalize on any of it yet, and it's a problem when you're coming in with that disadvantage and almost every other team has their act together and just runs roughshod on you.
Yeah.
Like, that's really rough. Their only win has been against Florida.
Yeah.
So, and I keep throwing Florida at the bottom of the barrel, but they're not really proving me otherwise.
No, you are not wrong.
But just in terms of being a fan in the arena... because the entire arena was purple and green.
Yeah.
At least the front rows, like the front section was mostly purple and green with a smattering of other jersey colors in there. So on the Valiant side, we sat down with the Atlanta fans and went, look, you cheer for us, we'll cheer for you. It's going to be great. We're going to be united. Let's go. And from the get-go, the Gladiators side adopted Justice. Someone even made a sign because they have those stencils. They're both shields.
Yeah.
And that's what they were chanting. So they just really went for it. And it was fun to be there.
Nice. Yeah, it was a fun one to watch, though I feel like the arena energy makes a difference in that kind of matchup.
Well, the arena energy was bonkers on Sunday because it's a bunch of Valiant and Gladiators fans going, we're going to cheer for everyone.
Oh, yeah, and it always is when battles of Los Angeles happen. Next match, New York Excelsior, 4-0s, Florida Mayhem. We both picked New York.
We are in no way surprised by this development at all.
And finally, Los Angeles Valiant versus Los Angeles Gladiators. Gladiators win the Battle of Los Angeles 2-1.
This was a much better match than I was actually expecting.
Yeah.
Again, we coming in as Valiant fans, we were all kind of talking to each other and looking at each other like, look, we don't expect to win. We will be just beside ourselves happy if we win because both teams ramp it up for a Battle of LA, regardless of how they've been doing in the season itself. Both teams bring their best game, or as best they can. But we were all going, we just really don't want to be 4-0'd. We just don't. We really want to... And so walking into this, watching this is not the best that the Valiant have ever played. This stage or at all. There was one point on the control point map where all we needed to do was take down Big Goose and we would have had the point, and for some reason we just couldn't. So
the goose was loose.
The goose was loose. So there were, for the Valiant, downsides like that. For the Gladiators, upsides. The flip side of that is the 4-minute hold on Hanamura Point B, which we were losing our minds at the end of it. That was an incredibly hard.
So loud, the crowd during that.
Yeah, we were like, all right, all we have to do is hold him for 4 minutes. We can do that, right? And then at the end of that,
surprisingly,
holy shit, we did that.
Yeah, cut to just...
Yeah.
My film nerd side is just like, cut to frickin' Choi Min-sik and Old Boy. Apparently, yes.
Because if you're watching the broadcast, or I actually don't know if this made it to the broadcast, I do know that they put it on Twitter. They took a bunch of us fans out during halftime for one of the earlier games and did a little interview about why do you think your team will win? Why do you root for this team? Et cetera, et cetera. And that started with... Briggsy is the unofficial hype person for the Valiant, and she is an incredible human being, and I love her to death. She's just the best. It started with one of the Blizzard Arena people talking to her saying, hey, we're going to do a little video, a couple of Valiant fans, a couple Gladiators fans. Do you know anyone? Do we want to, like, in a couple minutes, do you want it? She's like, sure. Grabs me, grabs Alyssa, grabs a couple of other people, go by the Gladiators, you, let's go. So by the time we got out to the little lobby area where we were filming this, there's probably 25, 30 people.
Yeah.
And the guy's just looking at us like, that's more than I expected. And I'm like, I don't know what you expected. Look who you asked. And that video was probably 10 minutes. And the first part was definitely just, it was spice. It was trash talk. It actually got a little uglier than it should have on both sides. We all got a little too hype, and I'm very glad they didn't use any of that footage. And then, it kind of stopped us and said, well, what about this? And that's when it turned into, look, at the end of the day, we're still fans. We're still here to have fun. We still love each other.
Yeah.
That was when all of us started chanting, get a draw. We had a grand old time.
And they did. They listened.
For at least one map, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, for those who have never been to the arena, who haven't had the opportunity, who don't understand why people go, the people propagating the paid fan myth, like everyone who can't understand why people would want to be in the arena, I feel like that changes when you're in the arena, where unlike a lot of sporting events, when you go there, everyone is your friend. Yeah. Everyone is there to have fun, first and foremost. It doesn't matter whose team colors you're wearing. It doesn't matter who you're cheering for or what players you like or whatever. You're there to have a good time. And regardless of who you wind up in line with outside waiting for seats or for concessions or whatever, whoever you're sitting next to, whoever you talk to, everyone is there to have a good time. Everyone wants to be friends. And it's an absolutely amazing experience. Like, that's one thing that I don't think comes through the broadcast. And that's a shame, because I would love for people to be able to experience that the same way that we're able to.
And that's kind of what makes me excited for Season 3, when the teams are going to have their home stadiums, basically.
I'm going to go ahead and call that a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it's absolutely going to be a logistical nightmare.
It's going to be.
But it's not our fucking problem to figure it out.
No, it's not. I'll just miss having everything in LA all the time and being able to saunter down the street.
I completely agree. Although, apparently Dallas's homestand weekend is sold out with a 4,500 seat venue.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Because part of having it in LA and having it in LA when the season's going almost every week is, oh, well, I'm going on this day and I'm going on this day and maybe I'll go on this day. Like, not everyone comes every day because you don't have to.
And
but
also,
if you have one day where you can, like, this is the only day or these are the only 2 days that you can come see your teams play, you are absolutely going to be there with bells on.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same way when they sold out Barclays at New York.
Yeah.
Even though NYXL wasn't playing, which I still think is a shame. But given their performance in stage 4, stage 5? Stage 4 of season 1. Not surprised, but it still sucked for all the New York fans to be like, they're coming here and my team's not coming.
It sucked for me because I just moved to fucking Los Angeles from New York.
Yep, that too. But hey, now you get to see him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Or as often as you can manage. Same here.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get the chance to go to the arena, if you can take a trip to LA, if you've got a team near you, if there's a Homestead weekend near you, anything like that, I highly, highly recommend it. It is such a good time.
And we're not helping with the paid fan thing right now, but it is just that much fun. Like, legitimately, I fucking love it.
I mean, I made a joke. I don't know if I made it off the air or if I made it here, but I made a joke earlier about when did I get up for Sunday's matches, which started at noon before 8 a.m. so I could get to the arena at 8 a.m.? Yes. Yeah. Because I was bound and determined to be sitting in the front row, and I knew that I needed to be an early riser to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And it was great. And it was worth it.
Hell yeah.
Like, that's just the sort of thing. Like, we love it. We just love it.
That's why we come here and talk about this shit for like 2 hours every week.
That's why we podcast.
Yep.
But yeah, this was a much better performance from the Valiant than I was honestly expecting, especially against the Gladiators, who have been so ridiculously good this stage. And much improved, like we said, halfway through last stage through here. So it was great. And then at the end of the day, all of us fans were just kind of hanging out and chatting with each other and having a good time. And there was that huge group hug that we all did, and that was natural. That wasn't some producer going, hey, can you guys hug each other now? That was, guys, we love you regardless.
Yeah.
It was pretty great.
Those days are always great.
They are.
They're something special.
So yeah, we may have lost, but we didn't get utterly destroyed. And we had a good time. And the team looks better.
Yeah, no, both teams have a lot to look forward to in this coming stage.
Yes.
And speaking of things to look forward to,
guys, we have a sponsor.
Yeah.
Who does all sorts of wonderful good things that you should obtain. Yeah, as always, On The Point is sponsored by Fred's BS. Breads and Spreads by Fred. Fred's BS is an LA local one-man baked goods business that offers unique flavors in small batches. Whether you're looking for homemade jams, brownies, blondies, or brown sugar buddies, the best cookies you've ever had, Fred's BS can provide. All products are made in small batches with fresh ingredients, nothing is ever frozen, and Fred provides a plethora of flavors that can't be found in stores, like the aforementioned brown sugar buddies or his strawberry peach paradise sunrise jam. Also, if you're LA local, you can choose pickup instead of delivery and get your goods even sooner. Head to fredsbs.com and use coupon code ONTHEPOINT for 20% off your entire order. That's fredsbs.com, fredsbs.com, and coupon code ONTHEPOINT. Fred's BS. Treat yourself, because you deserve it. And by the time this episode goes up, there should be a sale going on the site.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. Use that coupon code because that stacks with the sales.
Oh, that's awesome.
I believe last time this happened, it stacked with the sales. I believe that's still the case. Worth checking out, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to have to wait till my next paycheck, but if it stacks, I might just go in for that.
And also, if you are local, he's still working on pies. So follow the Instagram, keep an eye out, keep a pie out for that one. Yes. You're giving me that look, but I regret nothing. This is why you keep me.
I know you don't.
Stupid puns. Friend, that's why I'm here. Overwatch. And also puns.
Speaking of Overwatch, we'll talk about Storm Rising in a second, I think. Go into the other bit of news, which is Yang Xiaolong, player... I like the pun just like sapped my ability to emote. Yang Xiaolong, player from Chengdu Hunters.
Just pull on the professional podcaster face like, gotta do this, let's go. Despite her best efforts.
Has been fined a month's salary for an exchange on Aspen, who is a Grandmaster / Top 500 support player, part of Cloud9 on her stream. Some miscommunication from Chengdu's post briefly led people to confuse Yang Xiaolong with another player who hurled a lot of verbal and homophobic abuse at Aspen during a stream, but it's been clarified that this was a different person, just some bell end and ladder, which, one, horrible, two, at least it wasn't, like,
at least
a toxic person being brought into the league and all that.
I feel like part of this, like, I know that the Chengdu Twitter, where this announcement was made, it was a solid explanation and a solid apology.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I know that you don't want to reiterate what they said that required a fine. Yeah. On the other hand,
not being transparent,
it left it open for someone else to link that clip and say it was this. Yeah. Because I definitely watched that clip and went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, no, that was insane.
They hit every slur in the book, with the exception of a few racial ones, which thank God. But it was so bad.
It was so toxic, it seemed like it might legitimately give you some fucking cancer.
Yeah, it was so toxic, it would fucking corrode your phone just for watching it. Holy cow. But that was not Yang Xiaolong. That was some rando asshole who doesn't seem to understand when you're playing at that tier, a lot of people are streaming, and what you say gets broadcast to wide audiences.
You say that like people don't do shit like that because they know someone's gonna... People will do that shit because it's getting streamed. Like, there was a guy who was going around, and it was on a bunch of other, streamers, a bunch of Overwatch streamers. He popped up on their streams and was like, the account was like, kill all and burn all other
basically group. Awful things.
Yeah, and he would find out their battle tags and would send them an invite, delete the invite, send them an invite, delete the invite, send them an invite, delete the invite, till the little pop-up, ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba, just the words keep popping up on stream. People will do that shit because it gets views and because they like to see people squirm or they think saying horrible things is funny. Although the best thing to come out of that was Sabiel B's way of handling it, which is he adjusted the positioning and aspect ratio of his face cam to be a little bar in the top of the screen.
And just cover
so it's just a stretched out version of his face covering covering it, yeah.
I feel like at some point, if you're quick enough on the draw, you accept it so that it registers the person as someone you've played with, and then you report block ban.
Yeah, pretty much. And, like, it happened on Fusion's stream when I was actually in chat. And I'm like, oh, no, here's what you do. And, like, chat immediately getting like, no, here's how to avoid the shit. Like... But anyway, my point is horrible people will do this because they think it's funny to either embarrass people or say horrible things and shock people.
I would love to see Blizzard roll out more hardware bans for this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't do that often enough for stuff. Like, if that's your battle tag, I feel like that's an immediate bye, Felicia.
Yeah, the fact that someone got away with that, getting that in.
Mm-hmm.
How?
You know what? Yeah. The problem then becomes, like, when you have... I don't want to say language barriers. When you have filters put in so that you can't do specific words.
Filters.
Not even... Well, yeah. Then you wind up catching stuff that's legitimate. Like, the newer Pokemon games, you can't name your Pokemon insulting things.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I ran into the issue that very first Pokemon game I ever got. I got Pokemon Yellow. I named my Pikachu Spike because my dad had a joke about how he wanted to name our cat Spike, but I overruled him and named her Cloudy. Like, just...
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I named the Pikachu...
your cat plays for Paris.
Yeah. I named my Pikachu Spike in honor of my dad. And I tried to do that when I got my hands on, I think it was the Soul Silver, and I couldn't do it because evidently Pike is a slur, which was not something that I was aware of, in much the same way that Americans aren't aware of the fact that spaz is a slur in other countries. Yeah, I know, right?
Well,
it caught the name. It didn't recognize Spike, but it recognized that within the name was something that registered as a slur in the English language. And so I was not allowed to name my Pikachu that in a new name.
Unless I'm thinking of the wrong thing, that's incorrect. Because if it's referring to what I think it is, the slur is a different word that is very similar, but...
It's also spelled differently, and we're not going there.
Yeah, no, we're not. I'm just... It's just my brain going down the rabbit hole.
I've heard before of pike being used as a derogatory term in other countries, essentially. And because this was an English release that was not region locked to North America, they covered all of their bases.
Fair enough.
So on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I also get, like, there's no reason for some of these words that, again, are not going to be repeated here.
No.
But I keep remembering running into Spike versus Pike.
Yeah.
And what issues do you run into when someone's username contains some of the letters that might cause an issue? But I don't know.
That's one of those things where you gotta go in and really kind of think of things on a case-by-case basis and cover your bases, but that's a lot of work, and really not what we're here to talk about.
And automating things requires broad swaths as opposed to... Anyway... Thank you for giving a better reporting system, Blizzard. Now, please hardware ban people who do battle tags like this. Get rid of them.
I hope that they have, because I haven't seen that thing pop up in a few weeks.
Good.
But yeah, the thing Yang Xiaolong is being punished for saying is, hey, Aspen, Eamon say you are his second wife.
Which is
weird.
Kind of weird.
Well, yeah, no, Aspen immediately was like laughing, like, what the fuck? Like, she just seemed more confused and amused than anything.
On a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of harassment you can receive, that's like maybe a 3 depending on the context.
I was going to say like a 1.5 if it's just someone you know isn't being... unless you're getting some real weird shit. Like, that just almost seems like... I don't know.
Like, it's a 3 depending on the context.
True. But yeah, Eamon told him to knock that shit off. They both apologized to her privately afterwards, and Yang Xiaolong apologized on social media for... Basically, he said that I've always kind of talked shit with people online, and that's kind of led to some immature exchanges, and this is one of them, and I feel bad. This is something that I want to try and fix, and I'm not going to do again. Evidently, it was supposed to be like a waifu joke, like teasing Eamon for having some kind of crush on her or something, which I have no idea if that's true or not, or if he was just trying to embarrass Eamon. I have no fucking idea, but apparently...
It's one thing to embarrass Eamon. It's another one to rope someone in while you're doing it.
Yeah. Fuck if I know. I'm not going to make...
a bunch of 18-year-olds saying dumb things in a very public venue.
Yeah, but Yang Xiaolong's grasp on English isn't the greatest in the world because it is not his first language.
And English is a hard language to learn.
It is bizarre for non-English speakers.
It's bizarre for English speakers.
Yeah, fair. So some people might think this punishment is a bit harsh for a joke kind of getting... Whether a mildly inappropriate joke getting garbled in translation. But the thing you gotta remember is Aspen is 17.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that this was just information that Yang Xiaolong didn't know at the time, or didn't realize, or kind of forgot about, or whatever, or didn't know what constitutes a minor in the United States.
Yeah.
I assume this was just an innocent thing that was just kind of unintentionally like,
whoops.
Yeah, but suddenly the org response of being like, no, makes a lot more sense.
Well, and I also, I know it's not always a good thing to make an example of someone, as it were, but I rather like this hardline stance from Chengdu, just saying, hey, this was not appropriate, here's what's happening, here's the fine. He understands that it wasn't appropriate, it's not going to happen again. If it is repeated, there will be escalating consequences. I really appreciate that this is the first time that Chengdu has had a player make this flavor of mistake in public. And many teams have had many players make varying levels of mistakes in public.
Cut to Prophet flipping off the camera, and also a certain release that happened.
Cut to XQC, all right?
Oh, I was going way harder than that. I was saying cut to Dreamcasper.
That too. Like, just... It's nice to see that a newer organization takes this seriously.
Yeah, they're being
and it's not like, we're benching
it.
him and you'll never see him again. It's, hey, this was a mistake. Here's the consequence. He understands it's a mistake. Here's where we're going with this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the official response. And again, I think the only flaw that the official response had was not providing context and therefore allowing a false and much worse context to be the first thing that people saw.
Yeah, and there was a lot of immediate response. It was like, whoa, what the fuck? And like, when I saw that initially, like,
I didn't know he wasn't fluent in English. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, well, as far as I knew, he wasn't, because he used to be on a team called Miraculous Youngster, along with a few other prominent players in the Overwatch League. And I knew from seeing interviews with him that at least about a year ago, he was not fluent in English and hadn't really showed it off in any capacity. And it also just didn't sound like his voice. So I'm like, I don't think this is legit, but if it is, I am so deeply horrified.
Yikes. But it wasn't. It was something that I hesitate to call it a little more innocent. But it definitely wasn't as bad.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was on the level of, you're trying to make fun of your buddy, you do it in a way you shouldn't, and you rope in someone you shouldn't have, especially in this context.
Yeah, and I've
actually wound up in, not specifically Aspen's situation, like with the innuendo and whatnot, but I was definitely the go-between for someone else's joke. And thank goodness it turned out okay, and we can all laugh about it now. But at the time, it was definitely, oh, this was a mistake. Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that's all the context anyone is getting. But yeah, I've kind of been there. It's awkward. Don't use other people when you're trying to prank your friends, especially if those other people are... If they're in on it, yeah. But if those other people are strangers, people you've just met, people online... Maybe not so much, regardless of your intent.
And thankfully, she just laughed it off as like, okay, that was weird.
I think it would have been worse had she been freaked out by it.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, scale of 1 to 10, depending on the context, this is kind of a 3.
Yeah.
If you have a history of being harassed or stalked, this is a lot more than a 3. Because everything pings badly when that's in your past. But this wasn't too bad. I appreciate the organization's response.
And I appreciate Yang Xiaolong being upfront and being like, hey, I fucked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, we
And I mean, 1 month's salary for someone who is presumably living in the house, living rent-free, has their meals taken care of. Like, it's play money. Yeah. It's not depriving his ability to live and function as a human being.
Yeah. And just straight up, like, I appreciate this after... I forget which episode it was, but we had like, here's how you fucking apologize.
That was last episode.
That was last one?
That was last episode.
I forgot if it was last or the one before that.
But in this case,
Yang Xiaolong, thank you for the example.
Well, last episode was we went into depth on Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do.
So that was that. He evidently he's still a free agent right now.
Yeah,
so
poor guy.
Yep.
Well, there have been no new developments on that.
There have not. If there are, we will tell you about them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that something pertaining to someone will drop tomorrow after we've recorded this, because we're doing this on April 16th, and I'm sure that something will occur. You're checking the Reddit right now, aren't you? Well, while you check the Reddit, while you take a look, let's talk about Storm Rising.
Yes.
I have not had a chance to play this yet because I worked all day, and then I came home and downloaded the patch, and then I came over here to record this. So I have yet to play this, so we are going to do a spoiler-free review.
Yes.
Because you've played it and I haven't, and I don't want to be spoiled yet.
The only news update is apparently Danteh caused a scrim block to end early because he needed to take a shit.
Okay.
We're calling it the reverse Taimu.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we definitely needed that.
Do you know what I'm referencing?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I'm saying, okay, that's not news. That's just Danteh.
Yeah.
That's the title of this episode. That's not news. That's just Danteh.
There we go.
I'm writing that down.
Either that or the reverse Taimu.
I prefer that's not news.
Yeah. Anyway, Storm Rising. It's a similar PvE event to Retribution and Uprising. It's similar in this time around. You're playing as Tracer, Mercy, Genji, and Winston. You've got a set of objectives. You're going after Maximilian, or whatever his name was.
Maximilian, yes.
Oh, I was right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Going after Doomfist's money guy.
Whom they introduced in the Doomfist comic.
Yes.
For those of you who were like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah.
The comics are amazing. Please read them.
They're pretty legit.
Oh, yeah. And they're canon.
Yes.
Torbjorn adopting Bastion is canon.
Yeah.
He needs yet another child. This one's just mechanical.
Yeah, so going after Maximilian, fighting through a bunch of Talon agents. There's no direct appearances by any, like named Talon people otherwise, which you kind of expect.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it, though I still think out of the 3 PvE events, Retribution is my favorite. The best way to describe it is Retribution and Uprising felt like a complete story, whereas this one felt like the cold open to an animated TV series episode, which is, when are we getting Overwatch the animated series?
Netflix, get on that.
Dude, I will write
Netflix,
scripts for this. Just put me in, coach. I'm ready. I will work fucking pro bono. I want to see this happen.
I will write stupid interstitials.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So, it's a little quicker than the other ones, too. Like, I got through it.
Really?
Yeah, like, it was a faster play for me.
They do keep tightening that up, because Uprising, as much as I love it, is a slog.
Uprising is long.
Hold the point, do this, do that. I mean, the average round on normal is about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Provided that your Tracer isn't a fucking moron. I'm pretty sure I've told that story on this podcast, but
I think you have.
You've at least heard it.
Yes.
I don't know if it's, but yeah, no, that is where, if you ever look at my t-shirt shop, I have a shirt that says "Heroes never die, but for you, I will make an exception." Things I have screamed at a Tracer player after they died the 4th time. Like, I was done. But
it's definitely the quickest out of the bunch of them, and I kind of wish it was a little longer. It's a lot of fun, though. They don't really do too much that's new, although I would like to. I really enjoyed the different areas of Havana, and I feel like it could be fun to turn into a PvP map. Although there's a section where you're going through like a distillery warehouse that seems like it'd be a nightmare to play in PvP.
Which is why they should do it.
Fair enough. But yeah, was a good time. I still haven't gotten to play through it a whole bunch of times. What's nice is on the they have an all heroes mode for this one.
Yes, as usual.
Yeah, which you can go through and do a whole bunch of things. Playing Winston through the first section for me is really satisfying because if you pop Primal Rage, there's a whole bunch of windows for you to jump through.
Nice.
And it feels like you're the Hulk in the big fight at the end of the first Avengers where he's just jumping into buildings.
Be the Kool-Aid man. Smash through a wall.
I gotta farm up and get those skins, but it's a lot of fun. Although Legendary is rough because, man, they like their snipers. They like their snipers, and there was one time that tilted me so bad because I literally jump up and attack one. I do the whole fucking flip around, and I land on one, and I'm about to kill her, and then another one just shoots me in the forehead, and then that one shoots me in the forehead, and I just get double tapped and die instantly, and it's so annoying.
I did appreciate the developer update saying that they changed some of the enemy behaviors, that they thought the heavy was too erratic and too quick, and that now he telegraphs his movements, and I'm just sitting here going, so you changed this for Storm Rising. Did you change this for Retribution? Or when I go back to play Retribution again, because I inevitably will, because auto-locking Moira and going crazy is always a really good time, is the heavy still going to be just completely insane?
The heavy, or as my teammates immediately adopted as a call-out, Big Chungus.
No. Ah.
Chungus high ground. Chungus high ground. Like.
I do appreciate the return of the assassins, though, and would like to remind everyone that when you're playing through on all heroes, the assassin can be hacked and will collapse into a heap of limbs when it is hacked. So play Sombra, hack the assassin.
What was really funny when I was playing through that, because there's a bunch of sections where assassins will be coming at you. There was one where I ended up like just through some bad, like me not being aware of where the assassin was, I ended up dropping right next to them, and the assassin just went past me and jumped on my teammate who's like, "It's about to frag cryptic," and it just hard left away from me, goes up a set of stairs and around a high ground and jumps on him. It's like,
it hurt me! It hurt me!
It was fucking hysterical.
No, the first time an assassin got on me in Retribution, I literally pushed my chair back and yelled because I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, it was...
It's like, oh, what are we... Oh, this is a... What?
Honestly, the best way to describe it is it feels very much like a Left 4 Dead 2 map.
Okay.
Which is enjoyable. I like that.
Yeah, should be interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, our next time we record, I'll be able to go into a little more depth on this, as I will have had an opportunity to play it myself, and that is absolutely my plan tonight. Fuck responsible adulthood. I'm going to play this story mode and
get it.
So YouTube quit spoiling me for the cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's already an all cutscenes video up, and I'm like, I know why this isn't my recommended, but can you please stop?
I will say there's one missed opportunity, a cutscene that made me kind of salty, but
we will talk about that next week. What we need to touch on is Sojourn.
Yes.
Thank God. Finally.
I'm going to just let you take this one.
Oh my God, finally. Well, I haven't played it yet. I don't know what she's like. I know what she sounds like from the initial thing, but I haven't actually played it yet. But oh my God, she's a black woman. Her prayers have been answered. I'm so unbelievably happy for this. And then people pointing out like, oh yeah, no, she's been in 3 of the movies so far.
Yeah.
Like, she's been here the whole time. We've been developing her for a while, and there are some people saying that they've confirmed that she's not going to be the next hero. I don't remember hearing that anywhere.
I don't remember hearing it either, although there is a character they show at like the very end who I think is new. So,
well, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But I will be very surprised if Sojourn doesn't have a playable kit at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so happy they finally did it. We have a black woman. Yes! Thank God. So yeah, well done, Blizzard. Now make her playable. Let's do it. Let's go. Hero number 31, 32? 30-something?
I think this would be 29.
Is it?
I mean...
I thought 30.
I didn't think Overwatch had 30 heroes yet.
I have no idea. So, of course, we look it up on the fly because this is what we do. Are we going to count them? Is this what's going to happen?
Jesus Christ.
God, yes, let's do it.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 7 tanks.
7, 8, 8, 7. 14 plus 16, 30. So she'd be hero 31.
Yep, you are correct.
Wow. Well, we have 1 less tank and 1 less support, and I will be surprised if she's not a support.
Yeah, I could see it.
Playable differently than Mercy, but nonetheless.
Yeah. Although it might be
we just released a support with Batiste. I don't care.
It might be a DPS just because I feel like we've had more new supports than anything.
True. But I'm also kind of looking at the Overwatch team going.
Yeah.
We have 2 DPS. We have Jack and Gabe. We have 1 tank in Reinhardt. We have 1 support in Mercy. Actually, 3 DPS because Torb. If you're looking at like the original crew. And we have 2 support because Ana. And then we have whoever Sojourn was.
Yeah.
And this is depending on your point in the timeline. When did Winston join? When did Tracer join? When did these other things happen?
We're just going by the people in the picture.
Yes, and I consider Blackwatch to be something of a separate entity.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, was slightly more recent in the timeline than, like, old Overwatch.
But yeah, Reyes is both, though.
He is. He counts as both. But McCree does not count as Overwatch, and neither does Moira. They both count as Blackwatch.
Agreed.
Which is all DPS all the time, because Moira is DPS, whether she likes it or not. She plays DPS. And that is why I was so worried for Retribution when they're like, here's your hero pool. And I went, that's 3 DPS and a light support. Shit.
Well, Moria can
what are we doing?
Moria can pump out a lot of healing. It's just people don't do that a lot of the time.
The orb does a lot, and Coalescence is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's more to the point that I was looking at that going, we have no tank. What kind of, having only done Uprising, where you really, really need a tank.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of event is this? Oh, it's a high-paced sprint through the streets. Okay, this is better.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Cool. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth playing, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about it next week. And speaking of
Much
next
of it
week,
will be screaming, I'm sure.
Yeah. Speaking of next week, prediction time.
All right, let's do this.
And I'll go through and update the batting averages for next week. I'll remember to do that.
Yes, I'm sure that you're all hanging on. But what are their batting averages? We just don't know. They're coming. They're coming.
New York Excelsior versus Philadelphia Fusion.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm going New York.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shock versus Toronto Defiant.
Once again, guess.
Shock.
Yep.
Florida Mayhem versus Los Angeles Gladiators.
Absolutely Gladiators.
Vancouver Titans versus Dallas Fuel.
Vancouver. You're not going for the heart vote, are you?
I go for the one that I think is accurate.
Yep.
And also, these are my 2 favorite teams.
Oh, yeah. Mommy and Daddy are fighting. For me, that was the Battle of LA last week.
Yeah. New York Excelsior versus Atlanta Reign.
Absolutely NYXL.
NYXL. Philadelphia Fusion versus Houston Outlaws. This is the first one that I think could go either way.
I'm throwing in with Outlaws.
I think I will too.
Because Outlaws, I think, can, in terms of just messy play, I think Outlaws can pull it together better than Fusion. I think they have similar skill levels. And if Outlaws perform at the level that they did against Vancouver in terms of their better plays, especially that first map, I think that Outlaws can take this one.
The other thing is I just don't think Fusion is really coordinated enough to get in there if the Outlaws break out the somber comps.
Yeah.
I don't think
I think Outlaws do communicate well.
Yeah, I do. I don't think they have the best grasp on the meta or play to their strengths all the time, but they do coordinate well.
Yes.
Up next, Los Angeles Valiant versus Justice.
Valiant.
Hangzhou Spark versus Guangzhou Charge.
Spark. You gonna go with the electric team? We got like 3 or 4 teams that are electric.
Yeah. Spitfire versus Uprising.
Boston.
Shanghai Dragons versus Florida Mayhem. Shanghai.
And this is what's so funny to me, because last season, this was the one where everyone really wanted Shanghai to win because it was their chance, and it didn't happen. And now it's like, Shanghai's got
It's a bit of a gimme.
Depending on how they play and whether or not Mayhem can pull themselves together, because they've been having so much trouble doing that. Yeah, I'd say Shanghai.
Dallas Fuel versus Seoul Dynasty. Dallas.
Yeah, I do think this could go either way, but I'm not making the mistake of sleeping on Dallas again.
Up next, Gladiators versus Chengdu Hunters. And I love that I fucked up Gladiators slightly. Los Angeles Gladiator. There's just one of them.
Yeah, but you wrote that twice.
Yeah, I know.
Just the one Gladiator against the murder pandas.
I caught it on Dragons. Because I said Shanghai Dragon at least once. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Gladiators. I think they're both solid teams. I don't know what Chengdu is going to do, honestly, but I think Gladiators have been solid enough that I think they can take this.
And Chengdu has looked a little uneven despite this being a meta that enables their weirdness a little more.
Honestly, I'm looking at Gladiators, depending on what their next few maps are, I'm looking at Gladiators for a 7-0, if not a 6-1. You know? I think they can do it.
It's entirely possible, yeah.
Shock are definitely like, we can do this. Look at our maps. Look at our stage. We can totally do this. I'm like, I fully believe that Shock can take a 7-0.
I think so too. Although I feel like I've said it's entirely possible so many times on this podcast that I'm turning into Joe Rogan. Like I'm about to scream. I'm about to shout something about chimps. He's got a weird thing. Like, you know how chimps are fucking terrifyingly strong? He'll go off on tangents about that every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so entertaining.
Anyway, pick a team.
Gladiators, I already said. Yeah. Vancouver Titans versus Boston Uprising.
Titans.
Titans.
I think Uprising can probably give them a run for a map or two, but I don't think they can take the whole thing.
Agreed.
That said, I would love to see the crazy reverse sweep Juju come back.
Yeah, I just don't think it will here.
Yeah.
Outlaws versus Dragons.
Ooh,
I'm gonna go Dragons.
I'm gonna go Outlaws.
All right, we've got the split vote. Hangzhou Spark versus San Francisco Shock.
Once again, yet another electric matchup, and that's the Shock.
Shock. And then Atlanta Rain versus Guangzhou Charge.
Oh.
This is hard. That waveform.
No.
That waveform is incredible looking.
Yeah.
It looks like a rib cage.
Yeah, when I laugh, the waveforms look like boned fish. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta. Because Atlanta has at least been able to pull itself together off and on, but the Charge hasn't.
Atlanta has won maps.
Ouch. Admittedly, Atlanta also played the Justice this past week.
Yeah,
so you can't sit here and be like, they've won things. Like, they also played the Justice, and the Charge had to play the Shock twice.
Yeah, Guangzhou's definitely had a harder strength of schedule.
Yeah.
But I still feel like Atlanta might be the ones here.
I'd love to give it to Charge, but they're coming off of a week of 4-0s.
Yeah.
Like, yikes. Whereas at least Rain has some going for them.
I think they got 4-0'd in their last game in stage 1 as well.
Oh, they're going off of more than a week of 4-0s.
Yeah.
Well, their last game of stage 1 was against the Titans. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah. I'm just going to see how far back it goes.
I don't think that... Here, 1-3.
Okay, yeah.
So it's still a loss against the Gladiators in stage 1, week 4, but it was close to a 4-0.
They haven't won since week 3 of stage 1.
Yeah. And that's when they took on the Florida and the Valiant, and the Valiant was a map 5.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this is God, Guangzhou.
There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of one-sided games next week, but I'm still very excited for a bunch of them. Yeah. I feel like Vancouver versus Dallas is going to be really fun to watch. I feel like we're going to have a good one with Shanghai versus Outlaws. Like, I feel like that'll be very competitive.
Depending on how well Fusion pulls it together, I think Fusion versus Outlaws.
I think so. That could be a lot of fun to watch.
And if things go the way I want them to go, I will hopefully enjoy watching Valiant versus Justice.
Yes.
Because Valiant's been having some difficulties, but not that many.
Not quite that many.
But again, it gets to the point where you're up against the Justice. You want to prepare because you don't want them to pull the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
Especially since they were able to do that to Florida. You've got your bottom 3 teams there. You don't want to...
There's kind of a Rochambeau going on here.
But when the Valiant won a map, they bumped up 2 spots because of the map. When they won a match, they bumped up 2 spots because of the map differential.
Yeah,
and the last thing you want to do is fall back down.
Agreed. So yeah, that's our next week.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to watch a lot of these.
I'm looking forward to Friday specifically, but all of it should be fun.
I think Friday's going to be good. I think Sunday's going to be good.
Yes. So, happy Easter.
Also, I think Saturday might be, like, really competitive, just all of them.
Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. And I said, happy Easter for those of you who celebrate. And I believe we're also getting into Passover season, so I don't know if that's this coming week or next coming week, but happy Passover? Is that how you do that? I don't actually know.
I don't know.
Things that I need to research before next week, obviously.
I'm Irish-Italian.
I'm Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, whatever holiday you celebrate coming up, regardless of what said holiday is, please enjoy it.
Whatever Santa you pray to.
Whatever holiday, or just enjoy your week. Whatever it is.
Happy non-denominational holidays.
Happy enjoy week things.
Yes.
I'm going to put that on a shirt. Happy enjoy week things. Yeah. In the meantime, until we see you guys next week, CJ, where can the people find you?
At _rage_nerd on Twitter, and on Overwatch Pretenders as Cryptic, main tank of Mercury Cougars. We're actually getting an Academy team, which is going to be very cool. Yeah.
Audition for it.
Yeah, no, if you guys go in and join the server, and provided you're within the SR range, I think you'd need to be like plat or lower for that. Try out, why not?
All right. And I'm Katie. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I also do podcasts with the Rooster Team. We cover all things Rooster Teeth. Right now we are smack in the middle of season 17 of Red vs. Blue. We're having a grand... Oh, no, it's been really good.
I'm just saying the fact that it's season 17.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just remember watching the first episode of the first season on just like
back before video hosting was a thing and you had to download them. Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that is all on anchor.fm/the Rooster Team. So go check that out. We did that. We did Genlock. We did all sorts of fun stuff. You should absolutely take a look at it. And if you are listening on YouTube and prefer to listen on Anchor or your podcast place of choice, we On The Point is also on Anchor, anchor.fm/onthepoint. You can sponsor us there. You can follow us on Twitter at OnThePointPod. And as always, supporting our sponsor supports us. So head over to fredsbs.com, fredsbs.com, and use coupon code OnThePoint for 20% off your entire order. Remember, there should be a sale going on at about the time this episode goes up, so definitely go check that out. Get you some cookies. They are wonderful. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. You good?
Yeah.
Let's see 9.
I don't have anyone to meme on this week.
Too bad. Bye.